Democrats.
All right, we're back to check out the rest of this Jubilee reaction with the one and only Cenk, Uygur or Uyghur. I can never remember how to pronounce it. La- Last one I did was hilarious. Cenk is a very interesting guy that I disagree with about 99% of the time, but I got to give him props for going on every single platform and pushing whatever the hell it is he's trying to push. Let's do it.
Don't want to pass their agenda. It's a marketing ploy, not a mission.
All right, just real quick. He said Democrats don't want to pass their agenda. It's a marketing ploy, not a mission. Hey, that might be one of the one percenters I agree with.
Hi, Zena, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Zena.
Awesome. So I think that we largely agree, like kind of others have said. I just like want a little clarity on understanding how Democrats like water down their social issues, things like DEI and other measures to kind of bridge the gap that we've seen in like racial disparity, for example. How, in your worldview, do we reconcile such issues?
So, in the beginning, did we need affirmative action? Definitely.
You know, it's funny. This is the last time I'm gonna interrupt this quick. Cenk like doesn't even give himself a second to think. He just instantly starts responding. And I think some of the best orators of our time have always they took a second to consume a question first before they tried to, give a coherent response to it. But Cenk just lets it rip, man.
Because what happened before the civil rights movement was, so let's say that your firefighters or your longshoremen, those are really good jobs. They pay pretty well. They're good blue collar jobs. What do you want to do? You want to pass it on to your kids because you're normal, right? That's the type of thing that you want to do. Yeah. But unfortunately, at that point, almost all the jobs are held by white people. So we do affirmative action because, guys, we got to let others in. Otherwise, it's not fair.
Did he give a year for this claim? I mean, what are we talking about now? Are we talking about 2025? Those jobs are mainly held by white people? Because if they're mainly held by white people, it's because black or tan people ain't applying. That's all there is to it.
Era, right? And so that makes sense. But then over the course of decade after decade after decade, we wind up with DEI. And DEI has some good things in it, but it also had some abuses in it. We covered it on the Young Turks. There'd be situations where a white woman would say, okay, now can I tell you my perspective? And they would say, no, shut up. Your job is to learn. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Okay.
So are you talking about like fringe cases in which like someone would say that they feel unfairly treated by DEI? Because I think in any type of law that we're going to see passed, we're going to see fringe cases in which the law.
No, man, this ain't fringe. This is common cases. This is common practice. And shout out to Cenk for leading with that example, actually. DEI is nothing but trash.
Is I guess manipulated in some case to negatively affect certain groups, but I think that we see like largely the effect on.
All right, conservatives, you don't put your flags up that fast. Let's let this lady talk for a little bit and see where it goes.
The black population is extremely substantial and extremely important. For example, we see that like I think there's a study done. I don't remember if it was 2015 or 2002, but it was a study done where they simulated a class-based DEI program instead of race. What we found was equally qualified black individuals were much less likely to be chosen on this class-based protocol, and we saw that like the protocol actually represented a lot less of the black population that exists in this country, whereas DEI ensures that we have a representative pool of applicants and admitted students in our colleges, which is extremely important.
So look, again, DEI and affirmative action.
I don't know. Ask the Asian community how they feel about college admissions. Why is it that they could have 4.0 GPAs and grind their butts off for their entirety of their lives because it's a cultural norm for them, and then get turned away by Harvard because, hey, there's just too many Asians here. And that's, I guess we consider white a little close to Asian.
Had their role, had their place, and oftentimes
I'm saying that they have a role now.
So, but what it also does at the same time, though, is serves to divide us. And so, look, if you say to me, hey, maybe Muslims have a disadvantage, even if you take class into account. So should we give a little bit of extra weight to Muslim candidates? I would say, absolutely not.
Why not?
Do not do that. Because then what it does is it makes everyone bitter about the Muslim candidates.
Here's the problem.
And
facts. He took that from Thomas Sowell, and if he didn't, it's a good conclusion that most people come to. Even if, let's say, this Muslim guy he's talking about had a 4.0 and ended up in the same spot as all these other people, if the people that were already present knew about this program that was assisting Muslims, they would absolutely assume he was only there based off of DEI. Thomas Sowell made this point, 30 years ago, and it still stands the test of time.
Makes them seem like they
Here's
didn't
what I
earn
find
it,
super important.
when in fact they
so
did earn
what
it.
you're explaining is the response to the policy, and you're not actually digging at the policy in of itself. You're saying because people will come out and be, racist or Islamophobic or whatever it might be because of a policy that is ensuring equality of opportunity, we should cancel the policy. But that is not a critique of the policy. That's a critique of the Republican or usually conservative response to said policy. So do you have a problem with the policy or the response?
So my point here is that this is among the different things that the Democrats do, where they say, "Hey, I think they're being performative." They say, "Oh, we're in favor
It might
of
be
DEI."
performative, but the output
what it
is
actually,
important.
what the thing that would help.
How's the output important when we don't let 3,000 qualified people become, air traffic controllers when they absolutely ace the air traffic control test, but fail some obligatory test in which they had to answer what gender, race, age, height, and sexual preference they had. So we let all these great candidates go who aced the test because we wanted to have better outcomes for people who didn't perform as well. I don't think any of us want subpar air traffic controllers. This stuff gets people killed. What's next? Doctors, surgeons?
African American community, Latino community, Muslim community, all those communities is actually raising the minimum wage,
But what we
lowering
find
drug
is that-
prices. But we never do the material help. We never do
We
the
can
things
look-
that equal things out economically.
You still haven't critiqued the policy in of itself. You're saying people will get angry if we come out and we promote these
I did.
different metrics of
No, I
helping
am
people.
critiquing the policy.
So what
I'm
exactly
saying
about
that
the
it's
policy is
because
negative?
it divides us.
How does
And
the
it's-
policy
so
divide?
even though it has
by
a
saying
ben-
that racism exists.
Yeah. So
But racism-
no,
that
but
race
not by
does
saying that
exist.
racism exists. So you have to
Okay.
acknowledge reality, right? What you're saying is now we're going to put black people in this category. We're going to put white people in this category. We're gonna
Because
put
there are
different groups.
categories that
Okay,
that
so
exist
hold on,
now
hold
at a
on.
subconscious level that we characterize
So
each
even
other
if
by.
you get
Subconscious. This is the argument they always use. You are subconsciously racist, or you have microaggressions towards a certain group of people or people that look or talk a certain way, in which case, no matter how much training or re-education you do, you will never be able to get rid of that subconscious racism that is deep within you because you are usually white. So it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. Don't bend the knee to anybody because they will respect you less.
get a benefit from that. You say, hey, I reduced racism by 10%, 20%, et cetera. What you're doing is you're not noticing the giant downside of that, which is then people start to view each other as black, white,
We've
Asian,
always done
et
that. That's
cetera.
happening unconsciously
But
all the time.
You're right, but what I would love
So we have
is
to-
for us to stop
all
doing
of-
that.
all of our
For people
psychology-
to stop
if you
looking
want
at
us
me
to
as a
have-
Muslim and you as a
if you
black
want us to
person.
have less
I
than-
want them to look at you as an
if you want us
American
to
and
have-
me as an American.
If you want less racism and less racial categorizing, or just us to see it as less of an initial categorization, studies show that we need to attack racism and race as a
Studies show. Look out for them experts, y'all.
concept like head on. We cannot ignore them or input race neutral policy into place. What we find is that characterizing race, saying what it is, saying what racism is, and thus confronting ourselves with our biases is what limits them. So no, we can't say, let's stop dividing people with the corrective policy. The corrective policy
This guy's
is
like, I
helping
can't believe I'm
something
listening
that
to
has
this.
always existed. That's happening all the time.
So I told you I have an issue with the policy itself. I think it
You
divides
haven't
us.
explained it, though.
And do the Democrats actually pass their agenda? Even if they agreed with you, did they pass Voting Rights Act? They did not.
The problem
But
is
you know why?
capitulating to right framework with which I think was what you're doing here when you said the response to DEI is going to be negative. The thing is when we... All right.
Bye, Zena.
All right, thank you.
That woman's a perfect example of trying to confirm her biases in everything she says. No matter what the outcome, she won't go into anything with an open mind. She already knows what the outcome is, and she researches to confirm that outcome. Good luck, Zena. That's a tough one. That's a tough one to get out of. I think you can, though.
Hey.
Good to meet you.
So Democrats don't want to pass their agenda. I would say
This guy looks like he's gonna be super smart. He got that crazy look.
they want to pass their agenda. It's just, if you ask 50 Democrats what their agenda is, you get 60 different answers. We've got the environmentalists who hate the labor people. The labor people hate the environmentalists. We have the gay rights lobby. We have racial justice people. We have all different people, immigration activists. Like, everybody thinks that their issue is the most important one. And I know you
Facts.
don't acknowledge that usually at the beginning of an administration, there's the maximum political capital. And if they don't get something in that time, then they weren't really trying. But what has happened in the past, we saw Biden pass a number of bills in those first 2 years. The CHIPS Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, the bipartisan infrastructure law, the American Rescue Plan. Obama passed the Affordable Care Act. We've passed all kinds of things, but we also all disagree on what the hell the Democrats should do. And that leads to the point where somebody is always frustrated in our coalition because
All those things he just named have like 1,000 pages worth of stuff that, like, like the infrastructure bill or Build Back Better, whatever the hell Biden called it. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's all this stuff crammed in there, crammed in there, crammed in there. It's just a big money washing scheme for the most part. So they could put some pretty little name on this massive 1,000-page bill, and they're going to say, this is going to improve infrastructure in America. In reality, it's just dividing us and getting our politicians rich for the most part. And that's both sides of the aisle.
we are not just a big tent, we're a 3-ring circus ring. Like we have such a big tent that's collapsing in on itself. So this idea that we don't want to pass an agenda, the last point I'll make, because I'm taking up a lot of time, I would just look at the places where Democrats have all the power, like here in California. California, when you were growing up, I was growing up. I'm actually an 80-year-old man. That's why I got my Mr. Rogers sweater. It was smog here in LA. Like you couldn't see 50 feet in front of your house. We created not just the most powerful environmental regulator in this country. CARB is the most powerful environmental regulator in the world. And that was Democrats that did that. So this idea that when Democrats have power, they don't actually know what to do with it is bogus. We've seen it here in California. We've seen it in New York with.
How is California doing, sir? That's what I want to know. How's California doing? How's the homeless population? How's crime? How's drugs? How affordable is California? How are their responses to wildfires? How do they deforest? How are those fish doing that prevented water reservoirs from being filled? Hope those fish are all right. California is not a place you should be looking at as your example for how Democrat policies can show success.
Free college. We've seen it in many states. So I just don't agree that we don't actually want to do anything.
Okay, so you mentioned about a dozen things there. Let me take two of them as an example. So the CHIPS Act that you mentioned, right? The Democrats told us when we were covering it live on the Young Turks, oh, this is such a monumental bill. It's so important. And I was like, okay, nobody's going to vote based on that. So put that aside because that was definitely true, but okay, not pertinent to whether they were trying to do something that the Democratic voters wanted. So that they said that was for national security. Okay, there's some truth to that, right? And they said it was to, don't worry, this is to create more jobs. So now, what did they do? Very typical Democratic bill. They passed over $50 billion in corporate subsidies. The number one recipient was Intel, $8.5 billion in grants and $11 billion in loans. So about $20 billion overall. I said, for God's sake, at least put it in guardrails so they can't fire people. They said, oh, don't worry. Intel's going to create 10,000 jobs. You know what they did? They didn't put in the guardrails. And right afterwards, Intel fired 20,000 people.
That's just weird to mention guardrails against firing people when you rejected a union at your company and fired somebody for organizing.
Yeah, that is absolutely not true. You can say that if you like.
That is true. Look it up.
Dang, we got some left on left action. We all know the left eats itself. They all, like this guy said, have their own issue, which has to be the number one issue. And if you're not with the environmental people or you're not with the alphabet people, then guess what? They're going to kill each other. They're crazy. These people are crazy. So, yeah, kudos to them for calling them out. I'm going to have to look into that.
Union now, but
yeah, you could look it up to a bunch of liars, but this is a random thing that you're throwing in there, I guess, to just personally attack me. But there is a union. I'll tell you facts. Do you want to explain facts? So facts are, yes, IATSE is at Young Turks. It's been at Young Turks for over 5 years.
Did you or did you not reject a card check?
Yeah, I did. And so, in fact, card check, yes, that is the one thing I disagree with in the PRO Act. And yes, you are allowed to disagree with one part of the bill or 5% of a bill, right? And so, in our case,
so what happened? Compromise and have
my personal dealings at Young Turks. Okay, fine.
I told this guy, you could tell this guy was gonna be a brainiac. I think his problem is he's a Democrat. This guy's got the brain of a conservative, but he's on the wrong side of the aisle.
It's not personal. It's a public thing.
No. Okay, no problem. Okay, but let me address it. Now you got into a weirdo thing that not about policy, not about the Democrats, but about my company. Fine. So since you smeared me, let's explain. So that people come in and go, okay, surprise, we didn't ask you for anything, but we formed a union. I go, guys, great, prove it. They say, oh, we had a secret vote. And then people come up to me, other employees.
That's what a card check is.
Hold on. Other employees come up to me and go, they're intimidating us. We didn't ask.
We're getting way off base here.
I know,
hear
because you brought us off base with a random attack
because you
against
brought up
me.
guardrails. Let me just say one final.
Let that be your note. If you ever have to debate with Cenk, just let's say in some miracle way you're conservative and he's winning the debate, just do a quick little personal jab and he's going to get completely off the rails.
Let me finish, because you're not going to smear me and not let me explain, okay? So then I said, since people felt intimidated, it's okay.
You felt intimidated.
No, how do you? You're not even. You weren't there. You're just making stuff up.
That's
You're the one that
Okay,
farted.
so hold on.
You're the one that went
you
to the
won't even let me
NLRB and had
answer.
to.
What the hell is this?
You don't want
Is
to
this
shift the
some sort of
answer. You just
weirdo
want to
ambush?
filibuster.
Okay, let me answer. So then I said, for God's sake, just do a vote. No problem. When you get a union the very next day, they did a vote. And it passed, and they got a union immediately. As soon as I was sure that all of our employees were not being intimidated or bullied, they instantly got a union, and we've had a union for 5 years. There's people who are like,
In response to public question.
This is the problem with, you got such a left-wing company like the Young Turks, like far, far left. You're going to have some blue-haired hippies in there like, we should start a union. The boss is, the boss is clearly the oppressor. We should unionize against him. You see this with a lot of Cenk's employees. I can't remember that one woman's name. She was going in on him. He fired her recently, but geez. Yeah, man. Left eats their own.
people who are making stuff up 24/7, and they keep telling people like you that we rejected a union when we didn't. We authorized it immediately as soon as we had a fair vote. Okay, now back to what you thought was. I thought we were arguing about.
Good talking.
I'm not really, but okay.
Oh, he is mad, man. All right. Get that girl in there. They showed her about.
Hey,
She ain't even getting up.
Hey,
dude. I think they might have.
I have a lot of respect for you, but I worry about your progressive populism is dangerous. In fact, to me, you kind of sound like a political pickup artist. Like, just do this one trick and we can fix it all. And to me, it's no different than what MAGA is doing with their faux populism.
You better give some examples, sir, because it's not faux populism. It's populism.
With the deep state, with
And I don't like that term because it sounds like some left-wing stuff.
undocumented immigrants, someone to blame. You're just giving people corporate corrupt Democrats or corporate media as an excuse. And I think you're just taking advantage of disaffected people and not showing them we got to get more involved. We got to invest more. We got to try harder and get good people in there.
So you're saying that don't even try progressive populism. Just go along with the establishment Democrats because they know how to win. That's why they beat Donald Trump twice. Oh, right. They lost to Trump twice. They don't know anything. Their number one thing was, we know how to win. They were liars. They didn't know how to win at all. They got clowned by a guy who's not that bright. Now, number two, we have this giant agenda, $15 minimum wage, all the things that we've talked about throughout the day. Oh, golly gee, we just couldn't pass any of it. Oh, wow. Okay. But hey, vote for an establishment Democrat. Don't get tricked by left-wing populism. Brother, do we actually ever try left-wing populism?
Yes.
Here's the three things we've tried. We've tried establishment Democrats, complete failures. We've tried establishment Republicans, complete failures. We tried fake populism under Donald Trump, complete failures.
How? Give me examples, Cenk. Give me examples. How is he failing? I want to see it.
Disagree.
So the only thing we haven't tried is left-wing populism. And you say, don't try it. Go back to the establishment Democrats. Go back to the donor class. Are you crazy? Let's try the one thing we didn't try. The Bernie Sanders wing, economic populism.
I'm going to have to end it right there. You can't bring up the Bernie with his 6 houses as a socialist. The man touts himself out to be a socialist. He's got like 6 mansions, couple beach homes. That Bernie Sanders loves capitalism. Don't let that old man fool you. He loves capitalism. Wrong hero, Cenk. Super entertaining. If you're still here, like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Getting subscribers is hard.